Matthew Otter HIMSS with the Healthcare Blog and Health 2.0. I'm with John Papandrea on the right and Andrew Flanagan on the left. And these gents are from SAP, known as probably the world's largest ERP and sort of guts infrastructure software company, I think is a good way to explain a little bit. And not somebody who we see a lot of in healthcare, so I'm fascinated to find out why you guys are here at HIMSS. So John, let me start with you, as you're the big boss of healthcare for SAP across the world. Give us a little bit of flavor of what SAP has been doing across the different flavors of healthcare.
So SAP is actually globally recognized as a major player in the healthcare industry. In fact, in Europe, Latin America and Asia Pacific, we have quite a substantive presence in the healthcare provider space, and in the US as well in the business objects arena. We have more than 3,000 clients, in fact, from more than 3,000 organizations using our healthcare software. And what we're here at HIMSS to do is to launch a new solution that we're bringing to market called Collaborative eCare Management. And what Collaborative eCare Management does is allow individuals to better manage their self-health, but in a collaborative fashion with the pool of care providers that are engaged on a day-to-day basis with them in managing their health while they're active out in the community.
Great. So, Andy, I assume that as you're running the North American health operations, is pretty much under you. So, why don't you say a bit more about what you're currently doing with hospitals, providers, and others in the healthcare spaces, so people come to HIMSS, and then say a bit about the new set of tools.
Sure. So, through our business objects acquisition, SAP has a tremendous market share in the provider space, specifically business analytics, real-time dashboards.
Sure.
And through our collaborative eCare management, we're extending that leadership and introducing new technology such as in-memory database structures that will allow providers, research, thought leaders to take advantage of this technology in a fashion that has not been available previously.
So give me an example of what that might actually mean. So now I have business objects obviously been around for a while in healthcare.
Yes.
It's been, you guys have other systems in healthcare around the sort of ERP layer, but so now that happens and I have these intelligence objects, what does the new tools allow me to do?
So SAP is world-class in fixing systems end-to-end from an enterprise perspective. We're bringing to healthcare the same discipline and the same execution that we have in other industries. And so the eCare collaborative management will allow that collaboration in real time across multiple systems, regardless of the technology that's used in the provider, in the payer environment, to deliver a superior level of care. And so when we say real-time, real access anywhere, a good example that I'll ask John to share is, as people, we travel, and we have health issues when we travel, and that can be a problem if we have an acute condition or an event. And so I think a live example, if you don't mind sharing, perhaps.
Sure, be happy to. So the incorporation of cellular technology and mobility, whether it be an Android platform or an Apple platform, is an important component of the solution to make access to the solution to consumers of healthcare, the person or the patient, in a way that they haven't had that access before. So whilst I was traveling on business late last year, I had a healthcare event in Germany, ended up in hospital, and foreign country, foreign language, didn't have a way of actually engaging with or collaborating with my physician in the US. If I had had a solution like Collaborative eCare Management, I could have easily established a communication and a collaboration with my physician or pool of physicians. Come to turn out, when I returned to the US, my physician here resolved the problem, and then I started doing research online about, so how can I better manage my condition in order to not have it occur again. And so when I started doing this, I found lots and lots and lots of information on Google, WebMD, and other content sites. But the problem is the content that it contained in such searches is often untrue, contradictory, and very confusing, even for a professional like myself who's been involved in healthcare in my whole professional career. So another construct around collaborative eCare management is to embed e-learning or learning concepts around a specific disease, condition, or set of conditions or diseases that I can have, so I can have very, very focused learning and knowledge transfer electronically from my pool of care providers to myself, so I can be better educated not only about the condition, but also about how I go about managing my condition in collaboration in a powerful and proactive fashion with my pool of care providers.
So what's tell us a bit about the technology solution for the consumer end. If you had this set of tools you could collaborative management, what would you actually have used and what would be going on? What would you actually be doing?
So the tools that people carry around in their pockets or in their pocketbooks are the tools that the consumer would use to access collaborative e-care management. Android tablet devices, iPhones, iPads, and BlackBerry devices. The whole intent of the solution is to make it as unobtrusive as possible, but as impactful and powerful as possible as the individual goes about their day-to-day activities. So using devices that they already have is part of leveraging the power that they already have in their pockets.
And give me a sense about how you talked about finding content and information online, but not necessarily finding tools or not finding communication devices you want online. How are you planning, maybe it's a question for you, Andy, how are you planning to sort of roll this out? You're obviously working with a lot of hospitals and some physician practices at the moment. How is this going to get into the hands of, via hospitals and doctors, to actual consumers?
So collaborative e-care management actually is available to patients through providers and payers. And our ecosystem, SAP's ecosystem, is broad, international, long-standing. We're using those partnerships to reach the market. We will continue to make announcements throughout the year relative to the expanding system of ecosystem partners that will allow us to actually expand the medical devices that are available, extend the technology and the content. Specifically on the content, we are working with several thought-leading institutions to provide disease-specific content through this technology.
One of the components of collaborative e-care management is not only the concept of an in-community care plan for the patient to enable the management of their health care, but it's also the individualized content that they can execute on. No two people have the same mix of conditions that need to be managed, and so that the provider of the solution to the consumer or to the patient or the person can individualize the activities that the patient can undertake on a day-to-day basis, can update them based on the outcomes achieved by the client, by the patient, and so they can refine and manage in a coordinated fashion with the patient no matter where they are in the world.
So how does this operator or interoperator work with it in a world in which there is great diversity of physician use of EMRs and tools and care management plans? Some of them are not using them at all and some of them are using some. How are you fitting, if you're saying, okay, we're going to layer over on the top a sort of care management solution that's going to be individualized to patients, what do you guys have got skills about taking data over the other end, but tell me a bit more about how that works, and if I'm a plan or a provider and I want to adopt this, what do I do?
It's a great question. You know, inside of the existing organizations that have a proactive care management program, we will complement the progress that they've already made. There are some folks that they have patient portals. They're working on outreach. They're looking to reduce the cost of care while improving outcomes. So we have a strategy in which our software and our capabilities are flexible to be able to dovetail within existing initiatives, but to bring the full breadth of the solution. Many of the providers, many of the initiatives we've heard have taken great first steps. But in traditional SAP fashion, we're bringing a world-class end-to-end solution with the flexibility to work within the existing enterprise. And so that's really what's going to happen. That's what's happening with our early adopters. That's what's happening with the thought leaders that we're working with. Clearly, people have been working on improving outcomes, leveraging mobile technology to make things more accessible information, both to the patient and to the provider. We're simply coming to the market with a much broader, deeper solution that's been previously available.
Great, let's talk a little bit about those early adopters and sort of the intermarket strategy. Can you talk about who and then what type? You mentioned payers and providers, and give me a sense of where you think this is going to first emerge, and then working with them, how you're going to get to consumers.
We see the provider space moving most quickly, and we are working with several leading institutions in that regard.
Can you name names yet?
We will be making announcements later in the year.
Okay.
And as we continue to expand our ecosystem, as well as working with our existing customers, both self-insured, payers, and providers, we have a very strong pull in the market. The good news is that we have a very nimble development cycle at SAP, and so we have the ability to quickly iterate that feedback into future versions. So we would expect that throughout the current year, we're going to be making some exciting announcements as we continue to deploy.
But are you, without naming names, is a typical client here a large academic medical center? Is it a big multi-specialty medical group? Is it a loose affiliation of IPAs? Where do you think the growth is going to come from? You guys are known as being for a big corporate play in general. Is that going to be the similar in healthcare?
I think that we have seen very clearly in our market development work, which has been going on for several years, a broad-based response to the solution. So we are going to leverage our existing install base,
sure,
our Fortune 1000, to make sure that we incorporate that feedback, but we are currently specifically seeing strong feedback and interest from payer, provider, and self-insured. Yes.
Okay, well, that sounds good. So that's great. So, pretty exciting new announcement. You're thinking of making a splash. That is a different thing. It ends up being in the hands of consumers. That's what we started talking about. SAP, not exactly known as a consumer company. Is that going to change? Are we going to start thinking about direct marketing to consumers and via employers? And are you going to work with other people who are doing that in terms of other players who are going to consumers in the healthcare space and maybe can bring in their applications to work with yours? Where are you in that space?
So SAP's overall strategy really incorporates 3 tiers, if you will. On-premise, which we're well known for, on-demand, the cloud, and on-device. The acquisition of Sybase is part of that overall play, and the healthcare and health sciences industries is benefiting from the Sybase acquisition, a very important acquisition for SAP, but also if you think about the overall strategy of on-premise, on-demand, on-device, then that gives you an indication as to the future direction of not just healthcare and health sciences within SAP, but from an overall perspective as well.
And in terms of working with other application developers, there's a lot of conversation about the single source versus the open environment. You guys have obviously been doing that in some ways already in other businesses, but do you foresee a lot more sort of integration / opening of APIs? I mean, are we talking Epic, or are we talking Google Maps and open up the API and letting everyone play?
That's an excellent question. We are continuing our strategy of having a broad-based ecosystem. This is an open solution. We are working with widgets, the latest technology one would expect across the board. We're device agnostic, and we will continue to have a development cycle and a partnering cycle that will allow us to take advantage of the applications and technologies used by those patients. Really, it's about a patient-centered solution, and we are adopting our methodology and our strategy around that versus the other way around.
So a fun little companies to come and talk to you is what you're saying.
So at the end of the day, if you look at healthcare technology as it stands, the vast majority of that's spent on providing solutions to the professional user. 99% of the spend on IT goes to less than 1% of the time the patient's engaged in healthcare. And so there's a significant void in the ability of the patients to actually engage in not only the management of their own care, but the collaboration of that care with their pool of providers. And so collaborative e-care management is really aimed at that spot at bringing relevance to consumer-based healthcare, because consumer-based healthcare in isolation hasn't found success in the past. But in collaboration with the care providers, enabled on mobile devices, what we're seeing in the marketplace is very resounding positive. This is what we need to have.
Sounds good. It's Matthew Holt with the Healthcare Blog. I've been talking with John Papandrea, who's the global head of healthcare for SAP, and Andrew Flanagan, who's the national VP and runs it in the US. James, thanks a lot. Exciting announcement. Look forward to seeing how it develops in the future.
Thank you very much.